Thank you so much for coming to join us this evening, Kalimera. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's good to see you all here. Splendid opportunity to hear at first hand what we all need to hear and want to hear about what is happening in Cyprus.
So, my Lords, Honourable Members of Parliament, Your Excellency Foreign Minister Kasoulides, Your Excellency the High Commissioner, distinguished guests, on behalf of NEBOMAC, the World Organisation for Young Overseas Cypriots, it is a particular privilege to welcome you all to this evening's meeting and reception. Thank you all for attending. For us, British-born second and third generation Cypriots, Cyprus continues to hold a special place in our hearts and minds. This May represents a significant milestone for the Republic of Cyprus, 10 years of membership of the European Union. And over those 10 years, Cyprus has rapidly modernised and grown. Now, despite the events of the last year, Cyprus remains as committed and passionate about its membership of the European Union as it has always been. However, this year also marks a much more sombre anniversary. 40 years since the illegal invasion and occupation of the Republic of Cyprus by Turkey. And I'd like to take this opportunity to reassure the Foreign Minister that as an organised diaspora, NEBOMAC, the Federation and BOMAC stand full square behind his efforts, as well as those of the President and the Government of Cyprus, in the ongoing negotiations to find a lasting solution to the Cyprus issue. This evening we are honoured to have as our guest an individual who is exceptionally well qualified to talk about both these anniversaries, Foreign Minister Ioannis Kasoulides. Having previously served as Foreign Minister from 1997 to 2003, with responsibility for overseeing Cyprus's accession to the European Union, and having served as a member of the European Parliament for 9 years, he is exceptionally well qualified to offer a unique perspective on Cyprus's European journey and the current negotiations for a solution to the Cyprus issue.
The reason that I wanted Christos to do that first was because I didn't want to say all the things that Christos has just said. But it's a huge pleasure to see so many young Cypriots here. You get to a time in life when you stop saying you have old friends, because they are, and you start saying we have friends of long standing. But it's great to see so many young Cypriots who are committed to the same cause that we, your parliamentary friends here, are all committed to. Many of the parliamentary friends of Cyprus and the all-party group for Cyprus are here. There would be more, but the House rose slightly early tonight. That does not diminish the importance that we set by the two issues that have been referred to. First, the 10th anniversary of the membership of the European Union, and doesn't time fly? It doesn't seem like 10 years since Cyprus was acceding to the European Union. And second, of course, the much more, for all of us who've been working on this for a long time, I have to use the word depressing. I was trying to find a kinder word, but the fact that it is the 40th anniversary of the illegal occupation of part of your island. Something that we all feel very, very passionately about indeed. Anyway, you didn't come to hear me, you came to hear the Foreign Minister, who is an old friend and a friend of long standing, and he's travelled a long way to be here just for this meeting. So a huge pleasure to hear, Foreign Minister, what you have to say.
Thank you very much, my Lords, honourable members of the House of Commons and of the European Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to be here today, and I thank the Youth Council of the Federation of Expatriate Cypriots Overseas for their initiative to bring me here and be able to speak with a lot of friends, addressing the honourable members. Having done this a year ago, we'll see what happened during this period. It is often said that our relationship, the relationship between Cyprus and the United Kingdom, enjoys length of time, as it dates back to the 12th century, when Richard the Lionheart came to Cyprus. It also enjoys undeniable resilience, though at times there had been challenging moments in the history of our relations. The frequent, extensive contacts between our peoples and our mutual socio-economic interests that have developed throughout the years constitute a proof that the United Kingdom is a partner of importance and that both of our countries share a strong, pragmatic, and deeply founded relationship of decisive potential based on the principle of reciprocity. Links are further enhanced through active political cooperation between Cyprus and the United Kingdom as partners of the European Union, where we share similar approaches on numerous EU topics. Indicatively, I would like to mention important areas of common use, such as the completion of the common market, lifting restrictions of goods and services, very important for the City of London and vital for the largely service-based economy of Cyprus, opposing the financial transaction tax, maritime enterprise development, a main pillar of Cyprus's economy, review the policy of mobility within the European Union, and promoting our cooperation on global and regional matters of common concern, such as in addressing security threats and humanitarian issues, especially in the Middle East. Cyprus, in 90% of the voting occasions in the Council of the European Union in recent years, has in fact voted in identical manner as the UK. That is one of the reasons why we very much wish to see the United Kingdom to remain in the European Union in order to be an active partner in the coming years and one with which we can promote a dynamic and result-oriented European agenda. The excellent relationship that our two countries enjoy was reaffirmed last January during the official visit of President Anastasiadis to London. The joint communiqué that was issued following the meeting of President Anastasiadis and Prime Minister Cameron illustrated once again in a tangible way the partnership which exists between Cyprus and the UK. On the bilateral front, our relationship is entering a phase of revival as we focus on investing in areas of practically mutual value. These include long-term growth, energy cooperation, boosting of tourism, encouraging entrepreneurial initiatives, and public sector reform. Cyprus and the United Kingdom have also been closely cooperating lately to address the immovable property difficulties that British citizens have encountered in Cyprus and tackle the difficulties associated with the timely issuance of real estate title deeds. I would like to clarify that this is not a problem which concerns solely British citizens, but a problem that many Cypriots have also been facing. I would like to avail myself of this opportunity to highlight that the government of the Republic of Cyprus sympathizes with the British citizens that face such difficulties, and it is committed to effectively addressing the matter in close cooperation with the United Kingdom government. This was reflected in the UK-Cyprus joint communique, while it is also a standard topic of discussion in my consultations with Foreign Secretary William Hague and the State Minister for Europe, David Lidington. One of the most important, indeed landmark developments in our relations was the signing of the arrangement relating to the regulation of development in the British bases in Cyprus during President Anastasiadis' visit to London last January. The arrangement ensures that residents and property owners in the British bases will from now on enjoy equal rights for the development of property within the bases in relation to the rest of the population of Cyprus. Moreover, the arrangement will introduce planning zones and policies for all parts of the bases except the military sites, allow the establishment of commercial and industrial enterprises where consistent with the new planning zones and policies. That brings in line the situation in the British bases in relation to what applies in the Republic of Cyprus with regards to the acquisition and development of property, as well as the residency rights in the bases, and provide a considerable potential for the economic development of the areas within the British bases, with all the subsequent positive effects for the welfare of the residents of the communities within the bases. It will also help in generating a much needed wider boost to the Cyprus economy. Dear friends, in the domestic front, the state of the economy has naturally warranted much of our attention. Here, the developments, given the circumstances, have been positive too. A year after the regretful bail-in, Cyprus has been able to withstand the shock, and it is now on the way to recovery. The third Troika review mission has been successfully concluded with a positive outcome, and the third disbursement of funds from the ESM and the IMF has been approved. The Cyprus program remains on track. Fiscal targets for 2013 have been met with considerable margin due to both continued prudent budget execution and a less severe recession than originally anticipated. Structural reforms are also advancing, many with the kind assistance of the United Kingdom. Despite the positive results, however, there is still way to go if we consider the societal backlash of the bail-in and the strict austerity measures that have skyrocketed unemployment, projected at 19.2% for 2014, which translates actually to 40% among the young generation. At the same time, the macroeconomic outlook remains challenging, while the recession has been less pronounced than expected in 2013, instead of minus 5.5 of the GDP instead of the anticipated 7.8%. GDP is forecasted to decline by the same magnitude as expected in the last review for 2014. The decline of the spreads of the Cyprus government bonds is at the lowest level since 2011, around 5%. Our predictions for growth will be plus 0.8% in 2015, and Cyprus will be back to the markets in early 2016. Last Friday, Standard & Poor's and Fitch upgraded Cyprus to yet another level. Now, since taking office in March 2003, and after firmly putting the economy on the right track to recovery, President Anastasiadis focused his attention to the aim of finding a viable and just solution to the Cyprus problem. Taking into consideration the experiences of the past and recognizing the need to create the necessary preconditions for a substantive dialogue that would be able to produce at last a comprehensive settlement of the Cyprus problem, we have worked on 4 interconnected fronts that we believe are essential in creating a conducive environment for the talks and increase the chances of reaching a lasting solution. These 4 fronts are to issue a joint declaration that would fully clarify the basis, the basic principles of the solution of the Cyprus problem and the methodology to be followed in a new round of talks. On 11th February 2014, and after 4 months of arduous efforts, we achieved to conclude the joint declaration. The joint declaration bears the hallmarks of the vision for the settlement for a united Cyprus on the basis of a bicommunal, bizonal federal state with political equality as set in successive high-level agreements between the leaders of the two communities and the relevant UN Security Council resolutions, with a single sovereignty, single citizenship, and single international personality. It also ensures that all citizens have their rights and freedoms respected and that all Cypriots are equal within the European Union. Since the adoption of the joint declaration, the two negotiators met a number of times and recently completed the screening process, which consisted of the two sides presenting their basic positions on the negotiating chapters. From the 6th of May, we start an in-depth discussion and negotiation on each individual chapter in line with the interdependent and parallel approach and vision by the joint declaration. Even though the negotiators have covered some ground in their assessment during the screening process, a lot of work still needs to be done. Therefore, statements by the Turkish Cypriot side that the two sides are ready to engage in a give-and-take process in an effort to create a general euphoria in the international community about the progress of the negotiations are far from the truth. I would like to clarify that the true picture on the negotiating table is in fact very different. As the screening process revealed, there is a significant distance separating the two sides on many issues. Therefore, any attempt to present a rosy picture of the current state of play of the negotiations is only a smokescreen to mask the maximalistic positions that the Turkish Cypriot side submits to the negotiating table. So let me take this opportunity to be clear. We are not nearing the end of the process, and I would like to be cautious in creating such impressions because they lead to false expectations. The second front was to actively involve Turkey into the process by directly engaging and talking to the power which continues to occupy the northern part of Cyprus. This was achieved when Turkey welcomed in Ankara last February the Greek Cypriot negotiator for talks. The third front was to upgrade the role of the European Union in the negotiating process through a more active involvement in order to ensure that the solution will be compatible with the European principles and values and the acquis communautaire. We strongly believe that the active engagement of the EU in the process is essential, as the solution must ensure that Cyprus will be an effective and fully functioning member state within the EU. We do realize that there will be transitional periods in a possible solution. These transitional periods, however, cannot be turned into permanent derogations, but must have a definitive and reasonable termination time. Otherwise, we will run the risk of having a member state which post-solution will violate the very values and principles upon which the Union was founded. For example, an essential element of the solution of the Cyprus problem is the restoration of the human rights and fundamental freedoms of all Cypriots, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots alike. It is accepted that the restoration will not go from 0 to 100% in one night, but that there will be reasonable transitional periods to do so. The goal, though, is to reach the 100% mark, and that is the reason why permanent derogations cannot be accepted in a future solution. This is exactly where the upgraded role of the EU, through the active involvement of a special representative in the negotiating process, comes into play. The aim is to safeguard the quality of the settlement, provide advice concerning the challenges associated with the implementation of the acquis, and ensure that the solution will be compatible with the European principles and values. Regrettably, the Turkish Cypriot side has been against the observatory participation of an EU special representative in the meetings of the negotiators, or at least to have access to the minutes. It has even rejected an EU proposal to establish an ad hoc technical committee composed of representatives of the two communities and the European Commission in order to review matters relating to the acquis. While, however, the Turkish Cypriot side has been against the upgrading of the role of the EU in the negotiating process as an observer, it has sought at the same time to take advantage of the negotiations in order to engage directly itself with the EU Commission in an effort to harmonize its so-called legislations and illegal institutions and structures with the acquis communautaire. This stance represents a clear attempt by the Turkish Cypriot side to give the impression that they are holding, as a separate entity, direct negotiations with the EU Commission. Let me be absolutely clear on this issue. The Republic of Cyprus supports the familiarization of the Turkish Cypriot community with the EU and the acquis. However, it must be done with prior and timely consultation and in cooperation with the member state, the Republic of Cyprus, and in a way that does not imply recognition of illegitimate structures. The fourth and final front that President Anastasiadis has been working on is the implementation of substantial, game-changing, confidence-building measures that would create a new impetus in the negotiating process and sustain the momentum. Shortly after taking office, President Anastasiadis has submitted a package of significant CBMs, which include the return of the ghost city of Famagusta to its lawful inhabitants, direct trade by the Turkish Cypriot community to the EU through the use of the port of Famagusta under the auspices of the EU, and the opening of a number of Turkish accession negotiation chapters, provided that Turkey would implement fully the additional protocol to the association agreement towards Cyprus. It is quite clear that the adoption of these CBMs represent a clear win-win situation to both communities and to all interested stakeholders. Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots will benefit, especially in economic and humanitarian terms. The Famagusta CBMs will also create a new impetus in the negotiations by restoring trust and confidence of the people of Cyprus to the prospect of reaching a solution. Besides the Famagusta CBMs, mention should also be made to a number of CBMs pursued and implemented by the civil society in a bottom-up approach, which, even though are smaller in nature, have demonstrated beyond any doubt the will of the Cypriot people to live together in peace in a united and prosperous Cyprus. Examples are the interreligious dialogue between the Archbishop of the Church of Cyprus, the Mufti of the Turkish Cypriot community, and the leaders of other religious denominations in Cyprus. The initiatives by the two mayors of Nicosia and of Famagusta, and the steps to reunite the Football Federation of Cyprus. Honorable members, the dramatic developments in the Eastern Mediterranean region cannot leave Cyprus indifferent. It should hence be of no surprise that one of the main goals of the government has been the reorientation of the foreign policy of Cyprus based on a comprehensive and extrovert approach that aims at promoting bilateral and regional cooperation with its neighbors by making the best out of the geostrategic location of the island. We have actively embarked on cultivating good relations with our neighbors, with whom we share a perceptive affinity regarding the vision of a stable, peaceful, and prosperous Eastern Mediterranean. With our neighbors, we share the hydrocarbon reserves of the Levantine Basin and the joint will to utilize these resources to the benefit of the future generations of the region. Naturally, the discovery of hydrocarbon deposits is a major development for all countries in the Eastern Mediterranean. Cyprus, without being an involved party in the challenges that still separate our Near East partners, has assumed the role of common denominator in the quest of fulfilling the vision of utilizing energy reserves as a catalyst for peace and stability, matching the likes of the coal and steel European community that led to the foundation of the United Europe. With equal fervor, we wish to give true credence to the value of Cyprus as a safe haven of the crossroads of the three continents. We have proved this in practice in cases of massive humanitarian evacuations several times before, most recently last summer, and we declare our readiness to do so if need arises. In fact, the Syria crisis highlighted the potential for future cooperation and coordination between Cyprus and the UK in addressing possible threats and enduring peace, security and stability in the wider region. Concurrently, the establishment of a support base on the territory of the Republic of Cyprus for the OPCW mission, the Organization for the Prevention of Chemical Weapons, set up to implement the UN Security Council Resolution 2118, constitutes just that. Cyprus's geopolitical role already matters. During the last 14 months, I could list a number of examples of the way that Cyprus, as the frontline member state of the EU, has cooperated in the fight of the several asymmetric threats against the Western world as a whole in our volatile region. Via its substantial contribution to the joint struggle to combat terrorism, nuclear proliferation, and illegal arms trade, human and drug trafficking, as well as organized crime, Cyprus proves in a constantly manner its value as an active EU partner, but also as a credible and reliable regional partner to the United Kingdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Can I just say at the outset, people shouldn't get upset by the small surgical procedure which I've had at the side of my head. Is to do with deafness and trying to improve it. But if it doesn't, don't worry about it, because in my profession it can sometimes be seen as a positive advantage. And can I just mention, we've got a number of colleagues here who've made the effort to come here and support Cyprus once again. We've got Jim Sheridan, Ian Levy, of course Jim Dobbins, we've had Gerald Kaufman, we've had Simon Hughes, and a number of others. Of course Dave, who's the ex-chairman of the CPA committee. We've all come here on this important date, the birthday of Cyprus' entry into the European family. And I'm very pleased that we've done it from a speech from the Foreign Secretary, because I was a member of Parliament when he first became Foreign Secretary. I remember it well. And the first task he did, once becoming an appointed Foreign Secretary, was to visit London and meet members of Parliament of all political parties and begin the process of trying to educate those people of what was expected of them to be done. And we're very, very grateful that yet again he hasn't given up on that task. He's come back here, and we're very, very grateful for that. Can I also thank you, sir, for not many people will know that the efforts you put in, your country puts in on behalf of British servicemen and women, not only is a base to go out to the Far East, the Middle East, but also to come back from it, many with terrible injuries, and are dealt with in your hospitals. And of course, we're very, very grateful for that. And the support you give the Allies in combat in those terrible events in Kuwait, Iraq and Afghanistan. We're very, very grateful indeed. But it's very pleasant for me to actually be here today to remember this 10th anniversary, because I was in Cyprus for the entry. I was there. I deliberately got on a plane and went there and stood in Leader Square and watched the celebrations and listened to the speeches in that field. After many, many years, we'd have finally achieved the Council of Europe, the Council of Ministers, the European Parliament. We fought off all the angst which was around. And we'd said that there was no veto. There could not be any veto on a country coming into the European Union. It was a ridiculous state of affairs. And since Cyprus has come in, it's only been a good thing for the family. There's no doubt about that. We've all had our problems, economic and otherwise, in recent years. But let me tell you this. Cyprus was not allowed into the European community just to solve its problems about an invasion, illegal invasion and occupation. It was brought because it was in the interest of Europe to do exactly that. Cyprus was an offshore centre with its own banking system. Yes, it might be in trouble at the present time, but so is Britain, so is Germany, and so is France, and everywhere else. It has an offshore banking centre, and if it wasn't in the European Union, it could become an offshore centre for investment all over Europe and all over the world. And that would be a tragedy indeed. It also had its own stock exchange. It could have played the market against the likes of Lloyd's of London and elsewhere. It also had very good trade policies, particularly in Russia and the Eastern Bloc, in the Middle East and Africa. Much, much better than anybody in Europe. Remember the imperial organisation of Britain, of Germany, of France, of Belgium, all those had managed to get them all into a terrible situation that actually they hadn't got a very good trading reputation at all in those nations who were moving away from them. The largest continent in the world moving away from Europe. And we're very grateful that we had the opportunity to actually bring Cyprus into the family so that we could protect that. Of course, there's the other thing about telecommunications, the future. Everybody knows the future is telecommunications. And Cyprus is one of the 6 windows into space on the planet and can receive all those. That's why the listening stations are there. It's not just there. They wanted to be there because they wanted a piece of France or Germany or Britain or whatever. They're there because it's useful. It can get messages into and out of space very, very easily and project them. And of course, the future will mean that there's a real opportunity with that. So all in all, Cyprus was a great addition to the European Union, not least because through Papadopoulos and others before him, they actually managed to find out and establish that in the noble field there is a vast quantity of liquefied gas and oil in that, yet to be presented to Europe, because it's European, and help us through it. It will be the largest producer and importer of liquefied gas and oil throughout the European Union, bigger than Cyprus, bigger than Norway, bigger than and Britain. And that's a fact. And all the richest wells are in the hands of Cyprus. Grid 10, 11, 12 and 13. And no matter what anybody might claim to the contrary, all those grids are very, very clear in the international spectrum laid down on the grid belong to the Republic of Cyprus. So there can be no doubt whatsoever about that. So the future of Europe lies in Cyprus remaining a good, loyal. The future of Europe lies in the fact that Cyprus is reunited and put back together. Because very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen, Cyprus is going to be the gas station of the world. It's reality. When they put the centre for taking the gas and oil out of the sea and pull it to shore, it's not going to be in Lebanon. It's not going to be in Egypt. It's not going to be in Libya. It's not going to be in Turkey, who's already overmanned with the stuff coming from the Caspian Sea on the other side of the map. So the reality is, Europe needs Cyprus very, very much. If we had to build and exercise a better situation for our citizens in Europe, we need Cyprus as a main part of that family. We shouldn't be making excuses about it. And this 10-year anniversary gives us the opportunity of say thank you for coming in, because it wasn't just us saying, come in, yes, you can be there. It was about them saying, we want to, and come in. And I was there that 10 years ago when they exercised the opportunity to do just that. And I'm very grateful that we got through a decade of that. And now the future is very, very clear. We will push on. We will push on together, not apart. And we will do everything we can to try and bring this nation back together as one so that it can play a full part in our family. Thank you very much.